Hey there, it's September 13th and this is my third video here from our farm in Denmark. Well, at least where I'm in the video. I did try making some without me on the video. And in my last video, we took a look at how the plants we give space to can help support a rich and diverse insect life that also extends to many insects that prey upon the insects that can plague our cultivated plants and which we would prefer to have fewer of. Today, I wanted to turn to another grouping of insects. They're not a taxonomical group, which may be viewed as beneficial to gardens and farm production, and that is so-called pollinators. This includes many bees and wasps, as well as flies, beetles, moths, and butterflies. However, right now I'm going to focus on just one genus of bees, the very adorable bumblebees. So let's go looking for some bumblebees. Right now, at this time of the year, there really aren't that many species that are still active, at least not to a high level. Around the world, there are actually over 250 species of bumblebee, 29 of which can be found here or have been observed here in Denmark, although 3 of these species are now actually locally extinct. For example, the apple bumblebee, which could previously be found in Denmark, has vanished here, as it has, for example, in England. So obviously, this is not an apple bumblebee. It is, I believe, a common carder bumblebee, and that's because it really can't be confused with any other bumblebees here in Denmark, especially in this dark variation. And also because it's able to negotiate these very long flower tubes because of its long tongue, which most of the bumblebees here in Denmark don't have. And I'll be coming back to that shortly. For now, I want to point out that the new reproductive males and females only actually start to emerge in mid-August through even late October. And during this period, the workers are also very active. So it's important to these insects that they have a source of food here through the autumn. More than a third of the remaining species here in Denmark are considered nearly threatened to even critically endangered. And that's bad news. Bumblebees are vital pollinators of many of the vegetables and flowers we grow, and their success is linked to ours. For instance, they are important pollinators of tomatoes, eggplants, peppers, melons, strawberries, and actually lots of other berries. So like in the spring and summer, when many of our cultivated plants are blooming everywhere, it may seem like there should be everything that bumblebees need. But as the summer dies down, they may not be able to find what they need to make a living in our gardens and farmland. Actually, recently some research showed that there appears to be a very strong relationship between nectar supply in September and the colony density of buff-tailed bumblebees the following spring. That study was done in England. In Denmark and the rest of Europe, one plant that may bloom, or rather bloom or rebloom here in September, is Comfrey, which is actually right in back of me. I'm referring to what is typically called common comfrey. It's an excellent source of nectar, which refills its floral nectaries within less than an hour. we should take a look at it. Only bees with long tongues can actually reach the nectar of this flower. So as you can see, the flowers have this long cylindrical structure which evolved in order to dust the bees with pollen as they try to get to the nectar. Not all bumblebee species have tongues that are long enough to reach this nectar, nor do honeybees. However, many of the species still get to the nectar by kind of cheating the system. They chew a hole near the base of the flower and just take the nectar from the side. Pretty sneaky. So comfrey has its main bloom in June, and then it dies back. Very often it gets a lot of powdery mildew, and then it regrows and blooms again at the end of the summer and beginning of September. And comfrey is in the borage family, which gets its name from this plant back here, which is borage. Now borage is actually not native to Denmark or actually most of this part of Europe. It probably originated in Asia Minor, moved to the Mediterranean, and then elsewhere. But it has been naturalized here for very many centuries. Actually, let's take a look at it because it's quite different in many ways from comfrey. So borage has these flat, open flowers, kind of star-shaped, and this makes them accessible to basically every kind of bumblebee and also honeybees and some other insects. And what's really astonishing is that borage refills its nectaries in as little as 2 minutes. Comfrey also refills its nectaries pretty fast, but this is usually somewhere in the space of an hour. Okie dokie. So comfrey is a perennial, and it basically stays put. Every once in a while it may spread a little bit from a seed here and there. And borage is an annual, and it has a habit of sowing itself everywhere, but it doesn't really compete very well with grass, for instance, for root space, and it's otherwise quite easy to eliminate. And both of these plants can actually function quite well in a garden or around a garden or around farmland if they're managed properly. So don't forget about your bumblebees in September. There are still many species that are active at this time of the year, and it's going to be their queens that found the colonies of next spring, summer, and fall. So that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in, and as usual, please leave any feedback, comments, whatever, in the comment section.